Today's block from the Dear Jane quilt book is J10, which is also called, I believe it's pronounced Chico's Calla Lily. This block is a really pretty design with all of these orange peel type designs and with it reversed in the color patterns here in the center. So for my block, I am choosing this real pretty orange. I like the little flowers. It's very similar in color there as Jane's quilt. And then, of course, my muslin for the background. Let's take a look at how this block is set up and how I'm planning on going about this. The very center here is the background of the foundation fabric, and then the outer border is the muslin background fabric with the foundation fabric appliqued on top. In order to piece this together, my center square I'm going to cut out of the foundation fabric, and that square is 2 1/4 inches. So I will cut my square to be 2 3/4 of an inch. And then I will applique the orange peel sections into each corner, matching them in the center. On Jane's block, when you look at it, it does look like it is using reverse applique in the very center. The reason that she does that is so that that dark orange doesn't show through behind the muslin. The problem with reverse applique on this one is this very center. Doing reverse applique in that very middle there will leave only a couple of threads of the fabric holding it together. And I've done that before, and I really struggle with it not fraying on me or just trying to get it stitched in nicely. So I am actually just going to do regular applique on top with the muslin. There should be enough of a seam allowance where it will create a little bit of a barrier so that orange won't shine through quite as much. But first I'm going to cut this center square, and that'll be the 2 3/4. And then I'm going to cut 2 squares on either side out of the muslin and sew those together so that I will have that strip. For this entire block, I am going to piece the whole foundation, and then I'll applique all the little orange peels. I have the center section sewn together. The center square was cut to 2 3/4, and then these rectangles on the outside were cut to 2 3/4 lengthwise, but the width I cut to about 1 3/4 of an inch wide. So now I have these 2 rectangles for the top and the bottom, and they are also about 1 3/4 inch wide, and then about 5 1/2 inches long. So I will stitch these 2 together, and then we'll start looking at the applique. The center foundation of this block is now all sewn together. And next, it's time for the applique. I have this template cut out of this orange peel. It's the same size throughout the whole thing. I will need 4 cut out from the muslin to come into the center part. And then around the borders, I'm going to need 12 cut out of the orange. So I'm going to go ahead and cut these out. I will trace this pattern onto the right side of the fabrics that I am putting this on so that I can follow that applique pattern as I'm stitching it down. Well, this might look a little funky, but I have the center muslin orange peels all pinned into place, and I've matched up the points to the ends of the squares here, and all the points do come into the center. So this is all pinned down so it won't shift. So I will start with one and stitch around, and I'll just have to lift up the other pieces so that I can get that stitched down. So I'm just going to do needle turn applique to get all of these stitched down. My center orange peels are now all sewn in, and I've pressed down the block. Now I'm going to be stitching the orange peels around the outer border, and I'm going to be using the same method of lining them up so that my points are right at the edges here, and then once I have those 2 points up, lining up these 2 points so that they will be touching. And I will do that on these 2 edges first because they are working along a seam line here, and then I will be pinning and sewing the outer edges. So let me get started on these orange peels. And this is what my block looks like now with all of those outer pieces all pinned down. So now I'm just going to stitch them all down. I've finished sewing all of the little orange peels down onto this block. I've given it a good press and trimmed it. Thank you for following along as I made block J10, Chico's Calla Lily, from the Dear Jane quilt book. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave them below or send me an email at sewitseamscreations@outlook.com. This is Veronica Johnson with Sew It Seams, and I'll see you next time.